was me. Or maybe it was me then you. We started to talk and hang out a bit. Before we knew it, we were 3, not 2. Each day gone by, new faces we met, as we added to the folks that we know. We laughed, we cried, shared stories of our lives, and like magic, we started to grow. Those beautiful selves, both within and without, all reflections and aspects of us, have walked different paths that have walked different walks, yet join on one path, whilst in each other we strengthened our trust. So name thee what? A group of God folks who walk between wonder and insanity, committing to each other with truth in our hearts. We call ourselves community. A long time ago. Thank you. So, refer to that. My water here. My no dribble Bubba cup. I'm sure I'll dribble at one point. So back to the moment of looking in your eyes. That is the greatest community I have ever found. When I finally gave myself permission and the courage to do that, I'm seeing a community of selves that goes beyond just the one person sitting in front of me. Because I know that within us, within me, within all of us is more than one self. There's a whole community within the community. Within each and every one of us is a community of selves. And if you've been present with me along this year's talk, I've been doing a lot of different talking about those inner selves. The who, what, when, why, where, how talk. The intimacy talk. The shadow self. All of it has been a culmination of the same story, and it's the story of us. It's the story of our lives. It's the story of each individual within the individual is a community of many, 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 many people. Now, in some of us, we have manifested an illness that those personalities are in conflict, so conflict with each other that some of them don't even realize the other ones exist. And within that, there's medical attention and all kinds of help for those people that have been so fragmented by the different abuses and pains in their life that they don't have communication with those different selves. But most of us do. Whether we like what the other selves are doing, whether we agree what the other selves are doing, whether we want them to do what they're doing, or whether they're petrified to even attempt to do, we at least are aware and in communication with those aspects of ourselves. And then we walk into the world, and we see them in you, and me, and you see them in me. And we bump up against them every single day. Well, Becky started to talk, well, Becky did talk, about what we did this weekend. And what we did was a wonderful journey in the medicine wheel. And we've talked about the medicine wheel before. We've talked about your life. We've talked about every person within you, every age you've ever been, is there. There's an inner 1-year-old, an inner 2-year-old, an inner 3-year-old, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. But certain aspects and stages of these lives, of these selves, are more monumental than the others. It's like, over the journey of this weekend, we took a rites of passage course, things that haven't really been done in our culture. And the ways they have been done have been sometimes productive, but sometimes counterproductive to our being, to who we are as a person, to who we are as a sentient being, to who we are as a spiritual being, to who we are as a little kid being. That's still innocent. I don't care if I'm 50, I don't care if I'm 100. I'm going to be a goofball my whole life. Because my inner 8-year-old is alive and well. He's always going to laugh when Scott farts. And back up. Because he knows now. And that happened in the workshop too. In line, right behind Scott with a bunch of other people, and I just went like that and blasted the girl behind me. She's like, hey! I knew it was coming. My 8-year-old was in tune. But that's part of what we learned in the 17, that 7-year part of us, that childlike innocence. Margie led that particular part of the workshop for us. And it was a gift because we have to remember, and I'm always going to be a reminder, I know Margie's always going to be a reminder because that's something that's really passionate to us, is the inner child. That this is where it starts, guys. As we want to build a community, we have to start with this community in here, and we have to start with the kid within. We have to let them know they're safe. We have to let them know that they have a voice now in this community, in the community within. There's always going to be a within and a without. So I'm going to be talking about both of them today simultaneously, because there's no way I can walk this journey with my community without if the community within shuts down, goes on strike, closes up the town? What am I going to do? Am I going to abandon my own self and be a ghost town? I have to know that the community within me is solid. And sometimes that reaching out to the community without is really reaching out to a different aspect of yourself. I've got to let my little 7-year-old know that he still has this voice. But some of the other things that were brought to that 7-year-old energy was the fact that not only do we have a voice, but what we bring to the community and what we bring to life, what we remind all of us in our adult forms is spontaneity and to play and of our childlike innocence and of that wide-eyed wonder. That's the way to walk in a community, right? I mean, isn't that what we want for ourselves? And would any of us have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews? Did you tell them, you ever looked at them and said, look at the world like crap? You ever, be cynical. Don't discover anything new. Don't have any joy in that new critter you just saw that's all fluffy and cute. Unless you're deranged and really need medical attention, no one's going to really talk to a child that way. Unless you're talking to your own inner self. I'm telling you what, some of us can be arrested for some of the things we've told our inner child. I can. I can be put in shackles for some of the things I've told myself and hurt him with my pain. Luckily, I had other members of the community to step in and go, hey, you're hurting the kid. Let's step back a while and let us deal with your pain. You just step over here for a minute. Talk with these other folks. We'll tend to the children. You're not suited for this right now. You're hurting too much. So that these children can always have their voice of wonder and that we can deal with the pain. Because one of the things we moved on to in the next stage of our community was something that Dee led. And that was that 14-year-old in us. That part of us that now is facing its own mortality and realizing that I'm not only just looking at everything with discovery and wonder, I'm starting to discover there's some crappy things going on in the world too. And then I might have to fight here and there. Matter of fact, I might have to fight for my friend who's being picked on. I might have to find that internal warrior within me that has been so miscombobulated in society, but in my body, I know that it's the person that's a peaceful warrior that stands up for what's right. It's not someone who's just going to don weapons to kill. That's not what the warrior's about in us. That's what time and society has told us what soldiering was about. And we had to relearn the difference between soldiering and a warrior. And there's a lot of warriors that are now across the sea for us because this generation is starting to understand. They are starting to understand a little bit more that that internal warrior is about me protecting you, me standing up for you, and you being able to stand up for me too. But as I'm doing this, as I'm growing this community within myself, I'm still going to want to walk somewhere in the world. I'm growing, I'm getting older and older and older. And I've had all these different things happen within my life. And I'm sitting here and I'm starting to develop friendships. Maybe there was one, maybe there was two. That's how this started out. Well, this is the creation of my story. I am Mark. My world revolves around Mark. My movie is coming from this perspective. But the moment you're in my movie, well, I'm in your movie, actually. Oh. So my world is now revolving around you when it comes to your story, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Well, as I'm coming to this movie, and we're co-creating movies, and we come together, and now there's two of us, and we thought, well, I like that person. I want to hang out with them. Matter of fact, I like them, and I like their selves inside. Because we all know that we've met each other's selves. Did you hear how he was acting? What mood are they in? Or, wow, they're in such a wonderful mood today. Different aspects of the selves. We call it out what it is. We spot it. We recognize it. We feel it off of each other. So now let's do it more on purpose. So now we're journeying forward. We're moving forward. We discovered that, yes, we have that voice. We have a voice in the community. We have a wonder about us. We have wide-eyed innocence that we're bringing to this journey. And all the selves inside get to have that with them. And now we're starting to find a little bit more of our camaraderie in the world. Real friendships, real allies, and facing the own mortality. But I'm still not even a legal adult yet. So then we walked into 21. where you start now to really take your place in the world. You really start to walk on purpose with all your dreams and passions. And what am I going to be now that I'm grown up? Now that I'm responsible, now that I'm a member of society, I'm a member of this community. There's a lot of rites of passage in different religions where 14 you become an adult member of the church. Bar mitzvahs, things like that. As a Catholic person, when I was 14, I was now saying, I take responsibility for my spirituality. In those terminologies, I was renouncing Satan, where in my baptism, my godparents renounced Satan for me. That's what their job was, to keep my soul protected while I was on this journey. So we have different rites of passage. Some are religious, some are political, some are military. I mean, when I was in the military, when I got my first stripe, the way you tack that stripe on is everybody comes and punches you. They tack it, it's called tacking it on. So by the end of the day, your arm is red, white, and blue. But you know what? It's the best punch in the world because you just got promoted. So it's simple, different things, but that was that age. That's that age where we're becoming. You know, it's probably less impressive for a chief to get his crow tacked on or whatever military you're in, whatever service you're in, as it was for the very first stripe he ever got. As for that E4, when he or she finally came out of being just a private or a seaman recruit to a petty officer or a sergeant or something like that. Because it was that stage of our life, and that 21 of who am I going to be? I'm going to be somebody in this world. And we have to take responsibility for it too. Now we're old enough to vote, we're old enough to drink, we're old enough to go to jail for every single thing we do. Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But if I still kept that voice within me, letting me know that I have wide-eyed wonder, I have innocence, I have an essence of purity and love, and I bring that camaraderie with me, that warrior spirit, that person that is starting to truly make allies and friends so deep in their life that they fight for them, maybe even die for them. Bringing in those dreams of being an adult and going, all right, what am I going to do? How am I going to serve? Because this is my time to now serve my community. I've been a little kid. I've been a teenager. I knew it all. And now I'm going past my adolescence into my later stages of adolescence. Because even science now is saying that adolescence kind of lasts till 25 years old. And even though we were 25 and thought we still knew it all, and we're adults now, and they shouldn't tell me what to do, I know how much I've grown since I was 25. I know that the adolescent parts of me that have matured. And what do we mature into? As we go into these next stages within ourselves, within the community, as we're building and building and building, we now get into that mature state of that 35-year-old energy, to where I'm an aunt or an uncle in the world now. I'm mentoring people now. I'm teaching the people below me, hey, listen, you have a purpose, you have responsibility, but you have reason and wild-eyed wonder and camaraderie too. But let's fight a fight of freedom. Let's fight a fight for our community. Let's fight a fight that's not even fighting at all. That warrior within is just as empowered, and we'll put on and don whatever paints we need to, but that we're walking in the world, creating community that's going to spread out and ripple into the world. That's going to spread what we want, new thought, love, all the things and virtues that we believe are the truth. Whether we create our own reality or not and believe in new thought, gravity still works, all those things still works, physics still works. So as you are attracted to this kind of community, you're really doing a talk on the inside. Because we're singing songs like Awakening this morning, and it's like, wake up. Wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee. Because there's so many people that are sleeping, and we have created a community of people that are drinking coffee and going, all right, what's on the agenda? What's the plan? What are we going to do? Because as we now leave from this 35-year-old part of us that is mentoring and looking backwards at the people behind us and going, hey, here, we can show you a way with responsibility, they're still in a stage of still realizing their own dreams. So they're going to still need some mentoring themselves. And they do. They get that. They get that from the elders. We just got to install 5 or 6 people into elders this weekend. And it was a really good ceremony. It was a very powerful ceremony because in our society, our elders are cast away. They're put in hospices and whatever you want to call these places, nursing homes and assisted living homes, and well, your pension will cover it. I'll visit you once a month, Ma. Don't worry about it. When I was a little kid, I went and volunteered at a nursing home. And well, it didn't start like that. It started with, I had a paper route, and two of my favorite customers were old people. To me, they were old as dirt because they were old. But they were old as dirt, actually. They were already in their 80s. I was only 12. But I had that wide-eyed innocence. And that's how I delivered papers. With joy and fun and happiness. And it's like if I threw the paper and didn't make it exactly where I wanted, I could get off my bike, go get the paper, come back, ride back down the road, and do it again because I was practicing to get their paper perfectly where they wanted it, but without having to get off my bike every time. But they would always know when I was hot. They would always bring me juice or cookies or something like that. It got to the point where I was like Pavlov's dog. I'd start salivating when I delivered it. And they weren't home. I'm like, what am I going to do? There's no cookies or juice. But then they moved. And they weren't there anymore. And they were my favorite customers because they didn't only... They gave me stories. They didn't just give me cookies and milk. My paper route lasted like 15 to 20 minutes longer every single day because I stopped for stories. And then they moved away, and I'm like, where'd they go? What happened? Well, the complex, it was a trailer park. It was a small one in Salem, Ohio. So the office manager told me where they moved, and they moved to this hospice, big apartment somewhere in the town of Salem. We lived down the outskirts. It was about probably 10 miles. So I rode my bike up to see him every week. He got my stories. But I saw all the other old people that didn't have anybody visiting them. And I thought, even as a small boy, I might not have thought the words community, but I thought, what kind of a community is this? That all these people are just sitting here all sad at the last stages of their life when this stage is just as powerful as the 7-year-olds. You ever seen an old man or an old woman in their wide-eyed wonder, in their innocence, in their purity, and they're not caring about anything? Literally, what falls out, what hangs out, doesn't matter. What they say, nothing. And we're, oh, that's so cute. I'm like, if I said that, you'd slap me. 30 more years. And then I can start being fresh with women. But all along the way, we're building and we're building and we're building. I don't have an inner 80-year-old yet because I'm not 80. Although all there is now, and we can dance that dance. I can tap into the energies that my brothers and sisters who have lived before me or are living now and feel their life, but it's still their experience. And I haven't experienced 80 years old yet as Mark Pasqualino, but I have experienced everything up to 50 and 10/12s. My birthday's in 2 months, so hence the 10/12s. And in that, all of these people within me are part of my community. And sometimes I have to look inside my community and see how this community is serving me. And is it serving me? And how am I serving it? Do I serve my community? If I talk crappy to the little kid, I'm not. I'm going to be taken out and flogged. In the olden days, criminals got flogged in town square. Matter of fact, some of the laws are still on the books, actually. Yeah. But what about the teenager? Do I tell him he's never going to amount to anything? Or do I tell him he's got the passion to fight for what he believes in? And then if he wants to build a community out of love and passion, to take that wide-eyed wonderness with him, to take his innocence with him, because he didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing to feel guilty about. There's no original sin. That was a lie. It was a mistake. Sin just means to miss the mark anyway. So the original missing of the mark. Whatever. That's why we have however many years humans have really been on Earth, because it's still up for debate. Anywhere from 5,000 to 1 million. depending on who you talk to. All along the lines, all along the way, we've been involving those selves. But in this day and age, with these things going on, what am I going to say to this community within me? How am I going to serve it? How am I going to treat me? Because when I'm treating me really, really good, man, it really does ripple. Because then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to serve. I'm going to serve more. I'm going to serve freely. I'm going to serve longer. I'm going to serve harder. I'm going to serve happier. When I'm treating me badly, I'm going to sit at home and feel sorry for myself. I'm going to listen to the dialogue and affirm how right it is about how wrong I am. That's when we need some of our outer community to go, slut! With love. And say, hey man, what the hell are you doing? You're talking to yourself really bad. I would never let you talk to my kid that way. Why are you talking to your kid that way? Or your teenager, or your inner 21-year-old? What about that 35-year-old? What about this stage right now? 35 to 55. We're supposed to have achieved everything we wanted. What if you haven't? What if you're still discovering? What if things didn't perfectly work out for you? Do you give it up? Are you done? You still have a community of people inside you to tap into. If you have a hurt kid, let's go to a workshop. If you have an insecure teenager, let's go to a dance. Let's figure it out. Let's work on it. If you never knew what you wanted to be when you grow up, let's go to someone who knows those things. Doesn't Paula Languth Ryan do motivational, helping people with their finances and find new careers and stuff like that? So that, I mean, she's perfect at that. You can go to a workshop and just, discover some things, but that person, that's what they do. That's one of their talents. So there's always going to be somebody in my community that's going to be able to tap into something that I don't know how to. It's like people are sending me things to teach me how to publish and e-publish and things like that. I am 100% confident in my ability as a writer, as an author, as a lyricist. I don't know diddly about how to get published, and it overwhelms me, and it freaks me out, and it has stopped me in my tracks. And I'm having people in my outer community that know these things go, oh no, do this, or try this. Or I didn't have that knowledge within me, or I was shut down to it for whatever reasons. So sometimes there's going to be something in your community that you're shut down to. That for some reason, there was too much pain, maybe too much scar tissue built up. You needed one of us to come in there and surgically remove it for you. And we're going to do that with loving truth. I kept saying yesterday all weekend. And like, all weekend, we were here for a day. Not even a whole day. But it felt like a journey. It felt like we'd really been together. I'd met a couple people that I hadn't met before, and now they're part of my community, part of our community, part of this community. Because every time we truly bond with somebody, no one can ever psychically attack you. No one's ever going to come in your space that you don't want, blah, blah, blah. But every time you, on purpose, consciously bond with somebody, we truly, too, are one now. I can truly say Becky, Mark, Mark, Becky. Now, we have the ability to disconnect, too. If I'm mad at Becky or Becky's mad at me, she's like, bam. But the thing is, it's still kind of all in there. It's still kind of all in here. I'm just cutting off to it in a moment because I'm either mad, hurt, insecure. Fear wants to tell us, oh, that's too much love. You do realize that's the fear's biggest line, right? That's too much love. No, you don't that love. That's too much. You don't deserve it. Matter of fact, that person in the back, see them? Look at them. They're weeping. They deserve the love. Give this love that you have to them. And you're like, okay, but everybody else in here doesn't have any love. So now, if I take all the love for my community and just give it away, I'm not going to show up for the rest of my community. It's sharing the love, letting the love channel, letting the love flow through me, but knowing that it's always there. And if me and her, or her and I, or you and me, or you and him, get into a moment where the hurt got heavier than the love, man, it's only a nanosecond away of bringing it back. You don't have to go through all the downloading and re-uploading and uninstalling and deleting that old it's just a thought away. I've been going through a lot of different thoughts. The community within me have been telling me some really crazy things about myself. Some of them have been true. Some of them I've had to own and face. Some of them have been untrue, and they've been lies. They've been fear trying to take me at a moment of vulnerability. And fear will do that to you. Fear will say, don't be in community, stay by yourself. All the way, a couple years ago, I did a talk behind a piece of cardboard, and it was all about the wall and boundaries. Fear will have us build a wall so damn high that nothing can penetrate it. It will have you stay there for the rest of your life saying you don't need community, you don't need community, you got it all by yourself, be alone, you're safe. And then you die, you wither away, long before your time. Your body may be still walking the planet. You may even be physically fit. I've seen some people that can jog 10 miles a day, work out, aerobics, the whole 9 yards, and they're still dead inside because there's no community in here. And then you ask them what they do, and they do nothing. They don't have friends. They don't have anybody that they can talk to or listen to. So the first community that you're always going to have to look to is inside. I mean, the very first line, once upon a time there was you then me, or maybe it was me then you, depending from what perspective. But we did start out here. And when I go to bed at night, I am here. I've said this before, no matter who I lay with at night, I will always be the one to wake up in the morning with myself. I'm the one that sees his eyes in the mirror. I have to know that the community within me is safe from me and willing to know that I'm on my own side too, even when it doesn't appear so. That's the moment to reach out, or at least put yourself out there. People are going to come up to you. They're going to know. People have been coming up to me all month. And sometimes I've been, I'm fine. I'm top left. We all do that. It's just part of it. But the more you slap me lovingly with truth, the more I'm going to pop out of those dredges, those gutters, those ruts in life. And the same for you and you and you. But I said in meditation today 2 major questions that I want to leave you all with. How, throughout your life and now, has your community served you? And to really think and be with this over the week, over the time. And how do you serve your community, both inwardly and outwardly? Are you serving the elders in your community? Are you serving the children? Are you mentoring someone younger than you? Are you looking up to someone older than you? This is about breathing in and knowing that our answers are all right here. I really don't have all my answers, but yet when I look in your eyes, I see that there's answers. So I may have a question that I may not come up with the answer that day, but if I pose it out there, someone will. I have to be willing to be a part of this community. I have to be willing to step out into it. We had our annual meeting a month ago or so. I said, replace yourself in a seat. That's just for this community here, because we want to continue. So I challenge you again to replace yourself in your seat. But replace yourself so much that we bust out the seams of this building. That we're doing 3 services a day. That all we do is service on Sunday. That's all we do. Mel's fingers will be so tired from playing. She's like, I want to raise. No. And you will get one. A home top lesson, because as we build this community, we're going to build abundance for ourselves too. So there's more than just the pod at stake here. This is our lives. This is what we want. We want to walk in truth with each other. We want to walk in love with each other. We want to walk in joy with each other. Then let's walk with each other. Let's do the workshops if we need to get those inner selves, the inner community feeling a little bit better about hanging out with each other. And then we're going to be a lot more apt to want to hang out with each other. When I feel great, I want to hang out with people. When I feel like crap, I don't want to hang out with people. It's pretty simple. I feel pretty like this is a common feeling across the board. Unless you're just like, no, I feel like crap, I want to be around people to help me pop out of it. That's something that you might be hearing from that inner voice saying, hey, I have an idea, Mark. I have an idea, Sally, Sue, Bob, or Tim. You're feeling down, you're feeling alone, you're feeling like you don't have community to share with because you're so hurting that you can't hear your own community saying, we love you. Remember Horton Hears a Who? Is everybody, sometimes our community is that little whole town, a little dust speck, And if we just open our ear, we will hear that there's a whole universe of love for us, within us, of us, if we just open our ears and listen. Thank you.